What's up, viewers, subscribers, and agents alike? It's your boy Enlightened Luciferian Prince coming at y'all once again. Um, Amidst all the chaos that we have going on out here in the world, we see it today, you know, from the rising turmoil, from the aggressions from China, Russia, go over to the East. You have the synagogue of Satan, quote unquote, so-called Jews, the pretend Jews who are, dispossessing the natural inhabitants of, Palestine, and it's war going on over there right now. You got conflagrations going on in Colombia and here in the United States. That's why I told people weeks ago, get yourself prepared and stay ahead of the curve, because now you have what's called gas shortages on the Eastern Coast. One of the most prolific pipelines, the Colonial Pipeline on the East Coast, has been attacked cyberly by an entity we commonly known, for those who've done the research, as Dark Side. That's all I'm going to tell you about them. Obviously, these guys are very good at what they do. Obviously, they're very crafty. And this is also a ransom. So, if indeed, when people who are familiar with computer terms, if the demands are not met, that means that the metadata that is actually secured and stored via these corporations who actually have an interest in this pipeline, which is many hundreds of corporations and sub-corporations, will lose their data, which will bring a gradual collapse to the infrastructure of the United States. However, they will not tell you, for certain reasons of national security, that because they don't want to look weak in front of the American public, that they have to pay this ransom if they want that money back. See, people who know about computers and computer systems and so forth and so on, who are a little bit tech savvy, know exactly what I'm saying. Ransomware is one of those things where you have to pay the person who actually has your information, because if you don't pay that money by that deadline, they will delete that information. And there is no source or force in this world that could ever get that information back. Not even the individuals who even deleted it. It's very scary to the American public. So they have to feed y'all some sort of mis or disinformation. That's why I said in my previous videos before, stay prepared, get ready. However, because America and the corporation is so lauded in debt, they don't mind. It doesn't matter. They'll find some sort of solution to this some way, somehow. Because as I said before, it will bring a gradual, predisposed societal collapse. But I want to take y'all back in history on something that actually set up this particular corporation, as we know, is called the United States, Inc. And it all started out by what we call papal bulls. Now, some people say papal. I choose to say papal. Doesn't matter. It is what it is. People have their own enunciations based upon where they're from. It is what it is. That's perfectly fine. But these decrees were based upon a doctrine that was introduced to the church, I should say, Roman Catholic Church, or the whore of Babylon, as I call it. And this was supposed to be considered the papal infallibility. In other words, these people conscribed in their own conscience, the popes down the line, many eons, many centuries, whatever you wish to call it, they conscribed in their mind to say that whatever they say was the equivalent as the word of God itself. Meaning that whatever I say or put on paper, you cannot question. You don't answer, don't ask questions to, you only answer to it. And if you answer anything against it, your ass is grass. So, with the power they invested in themselves by their own self-imposed, theft of the actual Roman Vatican Hill from the year 1059, these people basically made themselves self-appointed sovereigns. Even though that is a right that every human being is actually born with on the face of this earth. However, through manipulation of the legal system and through manipulation of the historical context of what we call the United States, yes, many people have been misled and have also led their lives throughout centuries to believe that what these people say is good as the word of God. These people, as I often say before, are frauds, they're shysters. If you're watching this around children, please pause this video and remove them from the space. They are pedophiles, they are sadists, they are psychopaths, And above all else, they are humanist. They don't give a fuck about anybody or any entity but themselves, the lavish life they can live on Earth, and as they acquire as much land and resources that will keep them as cushy and comfy on the face of this earth as possible. Now, to show you the foolishness of the papal infallibility, let's go back to March 13th, 1981. I think it was, Pope John Paul I, if I'm mistaken. He got shot in Vatican Square. You know, they got these fancy rituals when they come out in public. They have all this pomp and circumstance when they present themselves to crowds and crowds of people, you know. When his ass got shot, that motherfucker did not do any of that. That man said, take my ass to the hospital, quick. You know, it wasn't all of that. I'm going to die and I'm going to be seated at the right hand of God. There was none of that. They had some of the best doctors in Vatican City come to attend that man to make sure he didn't go nowhere, because he knows the truth. And they know the truth, because it's a temporal existence. And all they're doing is leeching and sucking resources out of everybody, from the Americas all the way to the Caribbean, all the way to certain countries of Europe. They have their hand in every fucking thing. And that was the idea of the ancient Roman Catholic rule that predisposed the old so-called Holy Roman Empire to the new Holy Roman Empire, which is basically what we have today, which is nothing more than just a remake, but it's an extension of the old Holy Roman Empire, which was just isolated into certain parts of Europe, which now has extended itself corporate-wise into the United States. America is the new Rome, people. If you look at certain architecture and you look at the ancient city of Rome and you look at the United States Washington, D.C. Corporation, it's the exact same fucking thing. The Temple of Mars in ancient Rome is nothing more than the Pentagon today. Who was Mars? This was the actual chief god of war. What the fuck goes on at the Pentagon? You don't need to ask me that question. It's nothing more than the same shit. People need to get this through their head that the United States is Rome, because at the same token, all the laws and the same bylaws that are codified in law and the legal practice and legal theorization is in Latin. It's Latinized. Even down to the Roman Catholic Church, even down to the church and all of its subordinates, which is all these so-called branches, are still obedient to the will of the Pope. Simple. That's just the way it is. Now, many people have their dispositions on the debates or whatever the case may be. It is what it is. But if you do your historical research, you will see that America is a new Rome. Without further ado, though, let's get on to the papal bulls. Papal bull, Dum Diversis, which was actually implemented 18th of June, 1452. Pope Nicholas V issued the papal bull Dum Diversis on 18th of June, 1452. It authorized Alfonso V of Portugal to reduce any Saracens, also commonly known as Muslims, and pagans, which is basically all the indigenous people of the land in which we call Alkebulan, which they modernized into Africa, and any other unbelievers. Notice what I say, any other unbelievers, to perpetual slavery. This facilitated the Portuguese slave trade from West Africa. So in order for this to actually have been transposed upon the people, the indigenous people of the land of Alkebulan, to actually have these people transported minimally, we're not going to go into the whole millions and millions and all of these exaggerated numbers that many historians have often regurgitated from pseudo-science, because you have to realize that many people of indigenous heritage that came from the Western empires of Africa, from the Songhai Empire and so forth, had already been here. The Empire of Mali, Empire of Benin, it had already been here and had actually been transacting between the Americas. So that whole slave ship shit, we'll get into that later on down the categorization, because that was just a minor percentage of people who were actually enslaved. Nonetheless, this papal bull decreed that it take place. And the reason why I said any and all other unbelievers, because that meant that every land that these people would actually touch foot were to actually pledge title and allegiance to the crown of the so-called Holy Roman Empire, which these no good sons of bitches were, and still are to this day. Here's another one. This was 2 years later. The Bull Romanus Pontifex, Nicholas V. Here's another one, this no good son of a bitch. The same Pope wrote the Bull Romanus Pontifex on January 5th, 1455. You know, it says 1454. I guess it was enacted in 1455. to the same Alfonso as a follow-up to the Dum Diversus. It extended to the Catholic nations of Europe dominion over discovered lands during the Age of Discovery. I just said that shit. I just said that shit. And this is the truth. The Age of Discovery. Meaning that these people were coming out of their isolation. They were coming out of their lack or scarcity of resources or natural resources in their lands. And they said, well, let's go and explore other places so we're hearing all these good things that other people are telling us from their explorations, and we're seeing these things and we're knowing that other people are gaining some sort of advantage because it's rich. We ain't got shit over here. You see what I'm saying? So we have to issue a decree in order for us to try to go enslave other lands. And then the sad part is this. They used the religious doctrine to make indigenous people believe because they turned from their creator. This is the reason why they're in their condition. And this is the reason why I don't fuck with religion to this day. Because there is no way you're going to tell me that my benevolent creator, because I am one of the chosen individuals from a particular race or particular nation, I should say, of people, we won't take race out of it, that I had to be subjected to this to prove as a hallmark that I'm chosen, but I had to deal and eat sand for the rest of my fucking days for some shit that I didn't even do from previous experiences, from forebears. Come on, man, give me a break. That was the biggest, and still is the biggest weapon used against people today, because people don't understand that the Bible in and of itself is weaponized literature. It really is. The people that are considered the nation, the people, not the sovereign people of Israel, not a particular place that was created through the Balfour Declaration in the early 20s and established itself as the nation of Israel, 1947. That bullshit they got y'all believing that's going on right now. Those are not the real people. That's not the individuals that's chosen. They are not Semite. They are not Semitic people. Them bitches are some Khazars, and they come from the far hills of Europe, who basically transcribed or superimposed a convert belief system and made others believe that they're the chosen. That's bullshit. You see what I'm saying? And then this is the thing that a lot of people a lot of organizations, they try to also make it seem like they sympathize with these groups, not realizing that these are liars. You see what I'm saying? So you have to understand that regardless of which way you look, the lie has been imposed upon you from day one. Straight. You know, that's why I don't argue with people. I just spit facts and bring receipts. But you have to realize that this is a psychological mechanism of control. Not only did it also do one thing to you, it did another thing. It made you lose your mores, your folkways, your byways, and all of your cultural entitlements to yourself, and made you an identityless person. It stripped you of your heritage. And this is the thing that I try to tell people. Until you come back to the realization of who you are, you will stay wandering in the wilderness. Let's go to the last one. The bull Inter Caetera, Alexander VI. The 4th of May, 1493. In 1493, Alexander VI issued the bull Inter Caetera, stating one Christian nation did not have the right to establish dominion over lands previously dominated by another Christian nation, thus establishing the law of nations. Hence, together, the Dum Diversus, the Romanus Pontifex, and the Inter Caetera came to serve as the basis of justification for the doctrine of discovery, the global slave trade of the 15th and 16th centuries, and the age of imperialism. Now, there's an expansion of papal bulls because just like everything else, as times change, so does things that are culturally effective to a certain particular diaspora of people. That's why we have amendments to the Constitution. But you notice the funny thing that I tell people all the time, this so-called Constitution that we have in this so-called United States hasn't been amended since. Because, again, it's working. They tweaked it enough. See, they had to lay out the foundation. So once they laid the foundation, they had to tweak it a little bit. They had to change some things because gradually it was becoming a social change. But today hasn't been changed since. Nor has even a discussion of changing or implementing any sort of change to it has ever come up in modern so-called debate in the public spectrum. I'm in my early 30s. I have yet to hear anything being amended. And this is just 35 years ago, my infancy on this earth. Haven't even heard a whim of it. A whim, never. Because it's a corporate charter. You have to change things not according to the people's desire, but according to the what? Fiscal policy of the corporation. So all you people walking around there, walking around with the cross of Tammuz on your neck, guess what it is? Walking around with the adherence, to the Catholic, the Holy Roman Empire, so-called holy. It ain't shit holy about them, but they lies in their books. That's the only thing holy about them. Trust me, you are in Babylon, whether you realize it or not. And the sad thing is, a lot of people don't ever want to come to a realization about it because they're so broken mentally. It's so sad that a lot of people have access to so much knowledge and information in this era, in this time that we live in. But nobody wants to ever question what they've been told based upon the indoctrination factor. It's just the way it is. This is the way it's supposed to be. And notice what he said. It said perpetual slavery. That meant forever. That meant that there is no hope, no matter what, for the expansion from the time that this is actually decreed to the time up until the present. You will never be free. That's a bold declaration for somebody who ain't even here anymore. You see what I'm saying? But that does not stop the ancient agreements from the actual shareholders of this corporation called the United States and these other individuals who are actually here, particularly perpetrating the same fraud, from actually implementing the same policy. That's the thing that people don't get. They will not break their ties to these other entities. United States pays taxes and tribute to Great Britain because Great Britain actually contracted with the ancient so-called Holy Roman Emperors of yesteryear to actually do business here, but then the Pope laid claim as superior title to the United States. The letters of incorporation are in the Vatican, but because of reasons of national security, no human being outside of certain spectrums and certain realms will ever see that documentation. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Yes, people, there has been a charter, there has been laws that you don't know about, that have actually been agreed upon by these same individual entities that you will never see. And yes, they're going to stick by them because they've worked for centuries. So, all you people sitting here going through this shock culture that we call fear, trauma-based culture in the United States, take it into strict consideration. When they said perpetual, that didn't just mean a particular certain people. See, whenever it said slavery, it said also all people, all non-believers. That's why the brand of Christianity and the brand of the Bible is the number one most widely distributed book on the face of this earth. And Christianity is also freely disposed upon everybody. Free. It's the mark of imperialism, people. It is the mark of the beast. Notice what it said in Revelation 13. It said that all men upon the face of the earth shall bow down to the beast. Notice what it said, all. So that meant that in order for this plan to work, everybody has to be on the same accord. Now, everyone has their particular beliefs, and that's the beautiful part that keeps this from working to the extent that they want it to work. Because guess what? As long as you keep your own personal self-resolve and independence, and you keep your own personal mentality, and you keep your right to think, and you keep your right to research, and your right to teach, and spread the word, and spread the knowledge, and keep things going, and keep bearing the light, guess what? Their plans are thwarted because it has to work, because everyone has to be mentally controlled. Simple. The more you read, the more you research, the more you study, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more you earn. The more you earn, the more you can teach. The more you teach, the more you reach. And guess what? That's when you can slow down the process of what they wish to implement upon your daily life. Now, you don't have to choose to believe anything I'm saying. Trust me. You can cut this video off whenever you get ready. It's your choice. Swallow the blue pill, wake up tomorrow morning, act like anything I ever said. I never said anything. But take it into strict consideration. Just because you don't believe it doesn't mean it ain't true. You just learned a very significant truth in less than 20 minutes. Just because you don't believe something don't mean it ain't true. Now, you believe, that's a very thin line of understanding. It really is. Belief is one of those trick words, like a key. It's like an on-off switch. You know, anything that doesn't fit a person's particular narrative, or it doesn't fit their mental limitness or their own outlook on the world, oh, they fight and rebel against it so bad. But a person can come along suggestively through media, through social media, mainstream media, don't matter. It's all controlled by the same hand anyway. And at the same token, give you, 4 to 5 minutes worth of information, and you live your whole life upon that. And religion is the same way. Somebody told you something, made you believe it, sound convincing enough, and you grew up through years and years and years and years and years of your life believing that it was just that way. And some people, unfortunately, over years and centuries, have even lost their life over preconceived beliefs. But there is nobody more dangerous to the plan than a man that has a mind of his own. You think for yourself, you know what's going on. Your mind can't be made up because now you're in touch with the higher self and you're in touch with the inner divine. That's what they want to take from you. See, they want to turn y'all into these automatons, these little robots, these little mechanical cogs in the bigger wheel of the economic scheme. They don't want you thinking because they know the moment you ever get a chance to turn your light switch on, and guess what? You can clear out the cobwebs in your attic and you can start putting healthy information there instead of junk. That's why you're always bombarded with junk at every angle, whether it's in media, whether it's in your own personal downtime, whether it's in TVs, movie, whatever. Whether it's in print, it doesn't matter. See, they don't want you studying the harder topics of life. As I said before, I doubt if I ever break over 100,000 subscribers. And that's fine. Because I'm comfortable in my little corner in YouTube, the YouTube universe. It's fine. But I'll tell you, wide is the road that leads to destruction. So I don't amount myself based upon the president and how many followers I got. Because as long as I know I'm doing what my creator chose me to do, I'll be fine. Fame doesn't equate to me a conscientiousness of actually actualizing myself in life. I don't want to be famous. I don't even like people that much to even want to be famous. So it will all be for naught anyway. But people, get your research, stay awake, study your knowledge, and make sure you stay ahead of the curve of what's going on out here socially. Because remember, nothing is new under the sun. It's just the way that they package it and they present it to you to make you believe that what they're presenting to you is something different. It's always been happening all around us before we even got here on the face of this plane we call Earth. But to all my real men out there, all my soldiers in the battle, it's time to gear up. Time to stop being afraid. And time to stop letting people tell us what we got to do for ourselves. We start doing for our own self. Because I tell you, sometimes it might be time to just go in, Time to stop buying into the effeminization scheme. Time to start standing up being masculine. If you doubt your manhood, you better watch some Rambo. You follow what I'm saying? And get ready to stand up and fight. Because it comes a time where you're going to have to do what you got to do. And if you don't want to do what you got to do, well, you know what comes next. If you're defenseless, if you're weak, it is what it is. But if you're about protecting you and yours, you better get ready to do so. And you have a right, a creator given right to protect yourself and your family at all times. At all times. Period. If you don't believe that, please step to the right and join the sheep with the slaughter. It's your choice. The choice is yours and yours alone. Peace, light, love. For y'all that's first time viewing my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way, whenever things become available on my channel, and you know for a fact that you will become available, you'll be notified. Agents, do not contact me whatsoever. I do not consent, nor do I oblige. I would like to also leave this on the final note. People who need help with assistance as far as, better understanding on the path of actual self-actualization, sovereignty, so forth and so on, contact me via email. Please leave a subject and please leave a number in which I can contact you. If indeed you don't, there is a very slim chance that the universe will not allow me to grace your presence because I will not contact you because I leave simple instructions in my video. Please, serious inquiries only. Other than that, y'all be safe. Take care. Peace.